Crimson Tide fans, before we get today's show started, be sure to hit that big red button and subscribe to the Alabama Football Report, your one-stop shop for everything news and rumors on your Crimson Tide all season long. Let's be honest, they're playing Mercer this week. Not the greatest matchup in the world, but hey, we'll be here all season long to keep you in the know on your Crimson Tide. All you got to do is hit that big red button. Welcome into the Alabama Football Report. I am your host, RC Maxfield, and Week 2 is here for your Alabama Crimson Tide, and the matchup might not be that newsworthy, but there is football to be played in Tuscaloosa. It will be against the Mercer Bears, who beat their first week matchup 69-0. You know how nice that can be, but predict the score for me down in the comments before we get this preview started between the Mercer Bears and the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide. It's going to be a bloodbath out there, no doubt about it, but I want to hear your score predictions, so let me know down in the comments, and I'll give you mine just a bit later. Let's roll through why I think the Alabama Crimson Tide will minimum beat the Mercer Bears by 55. First and foremost, let's talk about Bryce Young having 4 TDs in a quarter and a half. I think that's what's going to happen for the star quarterback of the Crimson Tide. These are his numbers from last week against the number 14 Miami Hurricanes. At that point, they are ranked number 22 in the country now. He just flat out dominated, did the star quarterback, and really I don't see why he can't put up similar numbers, maybe not in the yards department, but in the TD department, really early and often against a team that, yeah, they didn't give up any points in their first matchup, but this was a school that I didn't even know existed. Not Mercer, but their opponent before Mercer played them and won 69-0 in Week 1. You look at what Bryce Young did against Miami. Again, 344 yards passing, 4 TDs, 0 interception, had a really nice completion percentage of 71.1 as well. I think when you look at what kind of day this will be for Bryce Young, it's going to be a quick day for him. I don't expect to see him in the second half against this unit in terms of the Mercer Bears, This is going to be a quick day work for the quarterback in Bryce Young, and I think it's going to be the similar process for really the whole offense and really the defense as well. There are not going to be a lot of starters out there in the second half for the Alabama Crimson Tide, but you tell me, how many TDs will Bryce Young have versus Mercer? I'm going to go with 4, but you tell me down in the comments below. I think it'll be really quick work for the star quarterback of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and I also think that the running backs will have a field day as well as we transition to the running backs, and they're going to just do dominant damage here. I mean, we're going to talk about Mercer here in a little bit and what they did in their first game in terms of on the ground, but I think Alabama's just going to up the ante per se when it comes to what they can do against the Bears. Looking at the depth chart for Alabama, Robinson, you got Williams. I know a lot of y'all in the comments are going to say I should have Sanders higher on this, but it's an or situation when it comes to the backups on the roster currently. I like Sanders, and maybe I'll move him up, but I want to see a little bit more work from him when it comes to just getting in the games, and I think this is the perfect setup to do it. I think this will be a good time to get quality reps for every running back on the roster, including Robinson, who maybe just will play a quarter and a half similar to Bryce Young, but I do think the running backs will get a lot of work against the Mercer Bears on Saturday on the SEC Network at 3 p.m. But predict the future for me. Who will lead the Tide in rushing versus Mercer? Comment down below. This is going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a coin flip between 3 guys, but give me Trey Sanders. Love his story and everything coming back from adversity. I think this is a game he comes out and absolutely dominates against the Bears. But hey, got to shout out today's sponsor of the video, BetUS. It's your one-stop shop for everything gambling online. All you got to do is go to chatsports.com/tidebet and use the promo code TIDE125. What is that going to do for you? Let's say you put $100 down the first time you make an account. Well, they're going to match it and give you 125 extra bucks to play with, making your total $225. And you can use that all season long and use it on prop bets for Alabama, maybe some SEC games as well. Maybe have some fun and, bet against lowly Vandy maybe. I don't know. But go to chatsports.com/TideBet. Use the promo code TIDE125 for a 125% deposit bonus. You won't regret it. It's the best deal on the internet right now in terms of deposit bonus. I'm doing it. Everybody here at Chat Sports is doing it. You should do it too. Why I think the Tide will roll. Example number, Trace. 3 for the people that don't speak Spanish. We got defense will record 7+ sacks. That just seems like a astonishing number. But I think that's what's going to happen. When you look at what Mercer did in their first game, they didn't allow any pressure. But again, they're playing a team that I have never heard of before this, and I don't know what conference they're in. I don't know if anybody knows either, but Will Anderson's going to have a field day against this Mercer offensive line when it comes down to it. He's one of the guys that he led the Alabama team last year in sacks with 7, and I think that he could get maybe even 3 in this game alone if he has the time and the reps to do so against Mercer early and often. Now, I'm not done with the defense in terms of what they're going to do this game. We're going bold here, and why not? There's not a lot of spread options here, and I think they're going to win by 55+ anyway. Let's have at least 1 pick 6 for the Alabama Crimson Tide defense, and for me, I think that's going to go to Josh Jobe. I think that he's one of those guys that really just embodies everything that secondary wants to be, which is obviously great. He's the best corner right now on this Alabama team. Want to see him get his first interception of the season, and what better time to do it against an opponent than Mercer? And let's bring it back to the house, too, in front of 100,000 people down in Tuscaloosa. So I think Jobe's first pick of the year, I think it results in 6 for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and really this defense is going to have an absolute field day and really just be able to pad their stats all season long. But hey, when it comes down to it and what this defense can do, I want to hear from you. Let me know. Will the Bama defense have a pick 6 versus Mercer? Type 1 for yes or type 2 for no down in the comments. You heard my opinion. I'm going with a 1. I think that this Alabama defense just absolutely dominates from the jump and really just leaves Mercer wanting to get on the bus ride back home. But let's round out this 5 in terms of why I think the Tide will roll against Mercer. I don't think Mercer's going to score a touchdown against this Alabama defense, and now that's kind of something just because of what they did in the first game of the season for the Bears. Notably, some of the stats that they've had. They had 539 yards rushing. It's a pretty solid number. Averaged 9 yards per carry and won their season opener 69-0. Now, the funny part about that 69-0 is they brought in their backup kicker, and he missed the extra point on purpose. He's come out and publicly said that all week because he wanted to keep the score 69-0. He's a real one. You got to respect it. A nice win for Mercer in week 1 when it comes to that final score. But predict it for me down in the comments. Will Mercer score a touchdown against Bama? Type Y for yes or type N for no. This is a simple no for me. I know there's a lot of spreads out there that are saying that Alabama could win by 54-ish. I think it's going to be at least 55, and there's some people that aren't even giving Mercer a chance to score and having this total around 61-0. I might not go that far, but I do think it's possible. But let me know, will Mercer score a TD down in the comments? And one last time, predict the score for me. Mercer Bears, number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm going to go ahead and say 60, let's go with the nice number 2, 69-3 Alabama in this one as the Tide roll in and get another win and improve to 2-0 on the season against an opponent that, let's be honest, really had no business going in to Tuscaloosa.